And what's up, Total War players? It's Kev here with Tactical Gimmicks, bringing you another hoplite battle on Teutoburg Forest on our path to unlocking the Carthaginian Cav, which I think will probably be the best in the game. And we're joined again by my buddy Jack here. What's going on, Jack?
Kev, baby, what's happening?
Dude, I'm enjoying some Total War, and I'm getting pumped up for my Florida trip in a couple weeks. I'm really excited to see gators again and seeing all the wildlife and the nice areas.
All right, wait. When do you leave for Florida again?
The 26th of March, so I'm leaving in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. All right. Will they be like defrosted by then, or?
Well, it's Florida, so that's like mating season for gators. At least the
I
last
mean,
time I went,
but do they like freeze in the winter? I mean, I've never really ventured far from Illinois.
they do,
Um,
they
they
do,
do.
they do freeze in the winter, but not in Florida. In Florida, they're active year round. In some of the more northern states where there's gators, if the water does freeze, they stick their nose up through the ice, and then they'll actually have a way to breathe, and then they go into this weird kind of hibernation mode
In the water?
in the water. There's some really cool pictures out right
So
now.
there's like just a bunch of floating logs in the river. And it's like,
Uh,
oh, that's actually a gator. It's sleeping right now.
Not even floating logs per se, but like just like little alligator noses sticking up out of the ice, and that's where they
If you
mostly
ask
freeze.
me, have you ever watched the show Swamp People?
I wish that I had. That sounds like something I would enjoy watching.
Swamp People, it's about people that hunt gators. I think it's on Discovery Channel. And it's not too crazy to think that they might be on History Channel just because History Channel doesn't do history anymore. I mean, they kind of do, but not really.
I feel like I
But anyway,
almost.
in Swamp People, they like it's a show where like they hunt gators, and like one of the guys is named Bubba. I fucking love Bubba, but Bubba hunts gators, and they just shoot them because they're like they're an oversexed animal. They're just like they're able to reproduce very easily, and there's too many of them. It's like Florida's deer problem. Like we have deer that are just like fucking too much in the Midwest, and so we kill them semi-annually.
Yeah,
Actually, I don't know the actual hunting seasons, but yeah, it's like they're gator hunts. So like, if you were hunting gators, why wouldn't you do like shooting them just through the nose when they're poking through a river of ice? You know,
well, I think
like
that in the more northern states, they're probably a little bit rarer, and they're probably protected because they are protected in some places. I know where I'm going in Florida. The second time I went to Florida, I did an airboat tour through a national preserve where they're protected, and it's a it's a wildlife refuge, and there's a shitload of gators there. Don't get me wrong. But I did also come close to probably shooting a gator the first time that I went to Florida.
wait. So have you ever killed a gator?
I haven't killed a gator, but I almost.
What? Wait,
I
hold
was.
on. Yeah, I mean, you haven't killed a gator, but you're talking big talk, and now you're saying like what?
I was prepared to shoot a gator the first time I went to Florida. So we drove down there. We were down there for a week in Vero Beach on the coast, and the gators are a little more inland. They're not on the coast, and crocodiles aren't that far north. I really, really wanted to see a. I really wanted to see a gator while we were down there, and we got to our second to last day down there, and I still hadn't seen one. And we were heading out to an outlet mall to do some shopping. And on the way there, we needed to get gas. At the gas station, I asked the lady behind the counter, I was like, hey, where's a good place to see gators around here? And she was like, oh, just go inland in any fresh body of water and you'll see gators. And I was like, yeah, I know that's the rule of thumb, but I'm really into gators, and I haven't seen any yet, and you have to pardon me. I'm from Chicago. I'm here on vacation. We're leaving. We're heading back to Chicago tomorrow. I was like, I really want to see wild gators before we go. And she was like, well, the closest place to here is probably in the ponds and marshes behind the outlet mall. And I was like, oh, that's perfect. We're heading to the outlet mall already. And I get back in the car and I look it up, and sure enough, there's actually off-roading trails behind this outlet mall in Vero Beach, Florida. And I
Dude, I
told
wish
I
Woodfield Mall had that.
yeah, that would be pretty
Well,
cool.
like there was just like an ATV trail behind out Woodfield Mall or Yorktown or all the other. bullshit places people go to buy things they don't need.
Well, it's almost like they know their demographic. Like they're just like, you know what? The dads and the husbands and the boyfriends, they can come, they can do their off-roading, and the ladies can do the shopping. So they've got that figured out. So, um, but sure enough, that stuff was back there. So I talked my dad and my wife into, hey, instead of before we go shopping, um, prior to leaving, let's swing behind the outlet mall and then we'll go looking for gators. And we get there and we find the path. It's really easy to find. It's really well marked actually behind this outlet mall. And we pull up there and I'm like, okay, so we're ready to go. Let's get the stroller. And my wife and my dad are like, no, we're not going with you. And I was like, what? And they're like, no, like you can go out there alone. Just like don't take longer than maybe like 45 minutes. Just go out and see what you can see, and we're gonna wait here in the air conditioning, and we're not gonna go trudging back there with you. And oh, and I tried to say like, all right,
I would
let's
have
take the.
gone because I would have gone with you.
Yeah, I know you would have. I wish you were there. And they also wouldn't let me take the car. They're like, hey, yeah, it's an off-roading track. We're not taking a rental car. We had a Ford Explorer, and it was lifted a little bit. It was lifted a little bit, but we'd rented a Ford Explorer. They're like, no, we're not taking the Explorer down an off-road track. This is a rental. We're not going to ruin it and then like get fined or something. So it's like, okay, screw you guys. And we always travel packing heat. So I'm like, all right, I'm taking this. I grab the Beretta.
Well, are you federally allowed to cross lines with guns?
Yes and no. So
Well, it's
the
either a yes or no. I mean, I'm asking about one group of people if they accept it or not.
so it depends. It depends on A, how you're carrying, if you're carrying, and B, what states you're going through. So Illinois has some of the strictest firearm laws in the country. So your Illinois FOID card is generally accepted in most states. Now that being said, there are some states like Georgia. Georgia doesn't require you to have a firearms license to purchase a gun. You just have to pass a background check, but they don't have any type of firearms ID database or anything like that. So if you're somebody from Georgia and you own a gun, you don't have a license.
Wait, you're telling me in this day and age that there's like places that don't have a database of who's bought a gun or not?
No, so Georgia keeps a database of that. They do keep a database of that, but they don't have a license. They don't have like a driver's license that you need to get in a state like Georgia. So like anybody who can pass a background check can go and buy a gun. And passing the background check is key because there's medical databases that goes through, and it goes through the FBI and all of that stuff. But certain states require an ID. Certain states will have a separate ID for concealed carrying, for instance. So in Illinois, if you have a FOID card, if you have a firearms identification card, and you have a concealed carry license, you can concealed carry just about anywhere in the United States, and you can have a firearm just about anywhere with you, just about anywhere in the United States, because most states don't have as strict of laws as Illinois does. So, considering that we drove through Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia, and then into Florida, all of those states have really, really, really loose firearm laws compared to Illinois, so our guns are good in all of those states. Now, I
All
did
right.
I did technically break the law when I took the Beretta out of the car and went walking down this off-road trail. I did technically break the law doing that. And the reason for this, I didn't have a concealed carry permit. And actually, I don't know if concealed carry is a permit in Florida or if you have a license, it's not. So maybe I didn't break the law, but I took the bread out of the glove box and I tucked it into the back of my pants. I racked it and I tucked it into the back of my pants and I said, okay, screw you guys. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna find some gators. And I started walking around this kind of park. It's not really like a park or a wildlife preserve or anything like
Is
that.
it marshy?
It was marshy, yeah. It was definitely not where the
Oh,
roads
gross.
not where the roads were.
Gross.
So like I stayed on the roads, but there was like little ponds and streams and rivers back there, and then there was these sand roads that were kind of on elevated ground up above all of it. So I'm looking around everywhere. I think I saw a rattlesnake, but I'm not 100% sure. But I went back there, and which would have been cool because I've never seen a rattlesnake, a wild rattlesnake in real life before, and that's one of my that's high up on my list. I think I saw one in Michigan of all places, but that's a different story for a different time. So I'm trudging. I'm taking out there this kid from Chicago that's never seen a wild gator before, that just wants to see a wild gator with a Beretta tucked into tucked into the back of his jeans, walking around and walking up to bodies of water. And I've been into reptiles since elementary school, so I should have known better. But I'm walking up to water and I'm popping pebbles into it. And I'm throwing sticks into the water
You
because that,
dipshit.
yeah, but I didn't get too close to the water. I didn't get too close to it, but I was within, in a lot of places, I was probably within 10 feet of the water. And what I didn't realize was that a full grown 15-foot gator can come out of the water at 30 to 40 miles an hour, and they can get two-thirds of their body length out of the water in that lunge. So being only 10 feet away from the water, something could have that I probably wouldn't have been able to see unless it was close to the surface and making those ripples. Something could have just fucking come out of the water at 30
They,
miles an hour, and I would have been within striking distance if it was an adult male American alligator. I would have definitely been within
Kev,
striking distance.
they knew you were packing, dude. We
Yeah,
all
that's
talked
why they
about
didn't
some.
come.
Like, I'm gonna eat this dude. And I'm like, no, 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 man. Don't mess with him.
Don't,
All right.
they were sticking their noses out of the water and they could smell Chicago on me, and they were like, "Nah, he's from the murder capital. We don't want to go after that guy. We don't want to.
I mean,
He's packing heat."
technically, Kev, you're from the burbs. We like as people who are born in the burbs and live in the burbs. We just have to admit we're not
We're not from
from
Chicago.
Chicago.
Yeah. No, no, we're not from
We
Chicago.
are Bourbonites for sure.
We're not from Chicago.
I'm just making that crystal clear.
Um, but no, I was definitely, I was ready, and there was a couple times where I was reaching back and gripping the hilt, like I maybe I thought I saw something, maybe it was like a fish. Um, at one point, I thought I heard a rattlesnake, and there are rattlesnakes down there, and that would have been the area that you probably would have seen a rattlesnake in. I think eastern diamondback rattlesnakes like marshes. So there was a couple times where I was gripping the hilt a little bit, and I think it ended up being fish and ended up being nothing. But I was full ready to be like, I want to see a gator, and if I see one and it comes at me and I can't get up an embankment to get away from the water, I'm gonna cap its ass. I'm gonna fucking blow
Kev,
it
what I
away.
want to ask, I want to talk more like, cool, you didn't kill a gator. Good for you, buddy. I wanted to ask about the Floyd card. Like, how do I get one of those?
You just fill out an application and send in a picture of yourself. It's pretty
Really?
simple. Yeah, and then they run a background check. At least
What
in
if
the
I
state of
tell them I
Illinois.
already have a secret clearance?
Oh, security clearance? I don't know if that gets weighted in or not. I don't
I
know if
mean,
they really care.
they do a pretty extensive background check.
They do. I know one of the guys that I worked with. One of the guys I work with right now, who's in the production and the warehouse side of things. He used to do security, where like he'd go and pick up money from retail stores or whatever, and then deliver it to banks.
Okay.
And he's got a baby mama, and apparently he owed some back child support, and he went to renew his FOID card because it does expire, and it expires like just the same as an Illinois driver's license does. It's like every 5 years or something like that. I think FOID cards every 10 years or every 8 years, but he went to renew his FOID card, and he had some back child pay or some back uh, child support payments that he hadn't made, and they wouldn't renew his FOID card, so he lost his job. So he had this kind of situation where he was like, how am I supposed to get the money to pay child support if I don't have a job, and I can't have that job unless I have a FOID card? So it was a little bit of a fucked up situation.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, the thing is I've been out of the hospital for 6 years now,
yeah,
and
yeah,
like, when I read the legislature as they said it was 5 years, so I kind of want to get one because more importantly, I don't want to own a gun. I just want to like. I've heard there are places you can go where you can rent guns and
yep,
just shoot them.
yep,
That's
yep,
all
yep,
I want to do.
yep. I know a couple good places where you can go and do that. around. There's a really good one in Dundee that has some great selections.
Ooh,
Uh,
Dundee. Hey, do you want to go paintballing sometime this summer?
Dude, I really want to. It's going to be a question of getting the miserable misses on board with letting me go and do that because I would have to do that during the day.
Oh, well, you know what? If Bullet Bourbon was willing to sponsor one of our trips out to fucking extreme paintball out in Dundee, Illinois, we would be gladly wearing shirts they provide us with Bullet Bourbon.
Yeah.
Bullet Bourbon. It's cheap at Bindy's, especially if you're a drunk. Bullet Bourbon.
Oh my god. No, I would love to. I mean, I love paintball, man. Before I had kids, I fucking loved doing paintball. That was one of the funnest
I just want
things.
to go shoot some 10-year-olds, you know? Pow
Yeah.
pow, pow pow. Who's at school now? All right, I'm sorry. That was pretty dark. I'm sorry for all of you with sensitive ears. Just remember, for the comments, we're a couple of bullshitters, so call us out on our bullshit. We're gonna be hanging out and keep doing our thing. So maybe you want to join us one of these nights. Maybe you want to be part of the conversation. We're looking to hang out with people. If you got stories about Berettas in your back pocket while hunting down gators, fucking go for it.
Dude, I would love to
Anyway,
talk to
I'm out.
somebody.
I'm out for now. I'm out till the next battle. I don't even. Did we win?
Dude, we're on a second battle. I just queued up and went for a second one.
Oh,
At that
you're on
point,
the
we were on a
second
roll.
one now.
Yeah, we lost the first one real fucking quick. So,
Making me doing a double shift? What are you
yeah, we were
paying
doing
me?
double shifts, man. Well,
I
you're
get
not getting
overtime for
overtime.
this, dude. I'm over 40 hours this week. I can't fucking do this. No one ever died saying they wish they'd worked more, Kev.
We're still not at 15 minutes though, so you still haven't hit your overtime cap.
I'm gonna call OSHA on you, motherfucker.
Dude, fuck OSHA. Though actually, I worked for a
No,
company.
no, don't fuck OSHA. OSHA allows me to work from home some days of the week. Like, no, fuck you. I like OSHA.
My experiences with OSHA are from the label company days where they would go
We're in
in.
a sweatshop. We know, Kev. Enough. Get over it. Move on with your life.
No, but OSHA would go in and they would go into my California plant, and one of the OSHA regulations is just empty pallets. Like if you're storing empty pallets, you're not allowed to put them on their side because if they're on their side, they could potentially tip over and fall on somebody and then injure them.
But
And
wait, isn't putting something on its side already putting something on its side?
yeah, but I
Like
mean, like if you were
something
to
tips over to its side. You know what like if something tips over, it means it's on its side now when it fell
yeah,
over.
so if no, but
So
like if you
so
had
how
a
does putting something on its side make it tip over, bud?
well, so no, a pallet. You could have a pallet stand up straight on its side. You could set it on the floor and it would stand up straight on its side,
Yeah.
and that's a safety risk because if there's nothing that's stopping it from tipping over, then it could tip over. It could hurt somebody. But the way that the regulation is written is just if you have a pallet on its side that's against the rules because it could tip over, and it doesn't matter if it's leaned up against something that's preventing it from tipping over, or maybe it's sandwiched between some things that are preventing it from tipping over. But the people in our California plant
I
that
mean,
I didn't work at.
how high are you stacking this thing? It has to fit on a truck at some point.
Well, so in Illinois, what we would do is we would lay them flat on the ground and we would stack them up like a sandwich, and we would stack them up 20 feet
Now,
up in
why
the
are we
air.
even on this topic? This sounds dumb and about work, and I don't want to think about that right now because I'm drinking.
Well, because you brought up OSHA, and my only experience with OSHA is hearing the stories of
Well, you
OSHA.
were ripping on OSHA because I was ripping about something about the Floyd card experience or something.
Yeah,
Or
no,
maybe
you,
you brought
you're
it up.
overtime. You said that I did a double shift with the video, so that's overtime. So you're gonna call OSHA. But my
Oh,
experience with
all
OSHA,
right. You know what, Kev? I don't need this crap. I'm off the clock right now. You're
you're off
not
the clock.
paying me. I'm doing this because I like to be here. Clearly, no one else does. No one else wants to be here. Someone's got to do it. I got a lonely friend playing Total Arena, and I want to know more about it. How's this battle going?
Dude, I'm dead, but my team is going to win the battle, and I made a pretty good sacrifice. I'm actually in
Wait,
first for
you
my team
kind of
right
sitting
now.
there. Are you racking up any points?
I am. I'm in first, not just for my team. I'm in first
Ah,
overall at the moment. I'm in
you're not
first.
doing anything. You're just lacking up the milk from the victors.
I'm in first. Before I died, I went out like a hero. I took a hero's death, and we're in first place. But for
So
anybody that wanted to hear, because I was two goddamn sentences away from finishing this OSHA story, my only interaction with, well, not interference, but interaction with OSHA, is at our California plant that I didn't work at. OSHA would go in there and they would raid our plant. They would raid our plant because they knew the people that worked in my California plant didn't give a shit and they did bad work, and they would put these pallets vertically. Instead of laying them flat on the ground and stacking them up like anybody else would, they'd put these pallets in vertically, and they would go in there and leverage $20,000 fines per pallet, to the tune of $400,000 in fines
Sounds like
across
your
three
warehouse
raids.
workers should have given a shit about how they laid the pallets.
Yeah, so that really, and
It
for,
kind of sounds like their own fucking fault, Kev.
dude, it is their own fault, but for a $50 million a year company, that's a big deal. That's like 1% of your revenue for the year, not
Then
just your
whoever is
profit,
head of
but your
your
revenue.
operations should be saying like, "Hey, we gotta figure this out. We gotta
Oh,
make this
people
work
got
so we don't
fired.
get fined this
People
month."
people got fired, new people got hired, people got moved there, and they fixed the problem. But not just one, not just two. Like, I think OSHA went in there for just like a standard thing, and they saw all of these, and then they did the first fine,
And
and then
they
they
didn't
did
learn their lesson.
and they didn't, and then they did a follow up. They did a follow up, and there was still pallets put up vertically, and they said okay, and then they just came back and rated again. Didn't find anything else wrong the second and third time that they showed up, but they just came back for a third time because they were like, these people are too dumb to learn, and they came back and just tacked some more fines on top of it. So that's the end of the OSHA story, and we did just win that battle there. I think I ended up in second for the team, second overall. Somebody passed me in the minutes there after I died. So hit the comment section, hit the like and subscribe buttons, and we'll be
Remember, we're a
back.
couple of bullshitters that love to talk shit. So if you want to throw shit back at us, we're ears open wide.
Yeah, so we'll be back in a few minutes for another battle.